Hello, my dears, and welcome back to the Kitty Coven. I am here to talk about the recent roundtable article that we have gotten from the Infinity Nikki devs. I'm going to break it all down bit by bit, talk about the information given, and kind of my theories and questions around it. So hopefully, if you haven't had a chance to read it and you prefer to listen to it in a video, you can hang out and get all the information you need. Taking a look at our roundtable article, the very first thing that they address is our demand for more main story. I know a lot of us have been really wanting this, myself included. I don't like that I feel like every patch is just an event and we're not really progressing. So they have addressed this. Now they have said that in 1.8 we are getting a brand new area, which does sound like it is going to be permanent. And that in 1.9, of course, we are getting the home feature, which they have teased and I have talked about on this channel before. However, it does sound like the next actual main story update isn't going to be at least till 1.10, but it sounds like it may not actually be until 2.0, which is at least 4 patches away, because they do at some point reference a 1.11 patch as well. So we have this one and 3 more after, at least, until we can for sure be getting more main story updates. And of course, that'll be in 2.0 from what it sounds like. That will be coming with a whole new region, new ability outfits, and they mentioned something about new map gameplay, and I'm not sure what that's going to mean. Is this just going to be some map optimizations, or is this going to be maybe a different way of exploring this new area, and they're referring to it as the map? I'm not quite sure. I do hope that like 1.10 and 1.11 is going to be more main story, but it's going to be like closing out our time in the region we're in and then preparing us for this journey to the new region. But I'm not going to hold my hopes for that. We at least know that in 2.0 we're getting a new region and we're going to continue the main story. Now, I do hope that after 2.0, what they are going to actually do is kind of give us a little bit of main story every update and have it planned for 2.0 to better reflect what the Infinity Nikki community has been asking for in terms of how our main story is delivered. I'm going to hope that's the case. I'm going to hope for that, but we will have to see what that ends up meaning. Now, these next 2 questions I do kind of want to get into together for part 2 and part 3 of this roundtable discussion, because both of them give very little actual information and they deal with kind of the same thing. So the very first thing that they mention is that by version 1.11, we're going to have access to dye more pieces in the game, and it sounds like this is specifically referring to those single pieces, things that aren't part of a set, you know, maybe the stuff we get from the deep echoes on banners and things like that. So we are going to have more dye options coming up, and I hope that this also means that eventually we're going to get dye options for basically everything in the game, and it's just taking a little bit of time to kind of implement that. They do also say they are planning to focus on making the future banner sets more flexible for mixing and matching. Now, this is another complaint I know many of us here have had about the fact that a lot of our banner outfits, particularly the 5 stars, don't have a lot of flexibility, right? We may be able to do it a little bit, we can kind of mix and match a little bit, but in terms of like can kind of go with everything, we just don't have a lot, particularly in our main pieces, you know, our dresses, tops and bottoms. All of that just doesn't have a ton of versatility. And they do say that they are trying to better focus on that for our future banners. Now, this may be a bit before we actually start to see this. The thing is, with games like this, generally they are working several updates ahead, especially the fact that they are mentioning, you know, 4 or 5 updates out that they are telling us information on. So I don't know how far out they already have their banners set and already being made. So we may not actually see this until like 2 2.0. We'll have to see, though I do hope we get both more flexibility and more variety. Now, we have been getting a little bit more variety in our banners recently, but I want more variety in terms of, like, I would love to see a 5-star banner that has a really nice pair of pants and a really cool top and isn't just either a big dress or something that just feels fancy. Regardless of what its tags are, all of them feel like a full kind of dressing up situation for the most part. And I'd love to see some, like, really cool kind of dressed down 5-star banners. And I think they could do it really well. And I understand they probably have a bit of fear because obviously these big gowns and all of this, they're show stopping. And they are absolutely going to get people's attention. But they very rarely are easy to kind of mix and match for, like, daily kind of wear. And I know a lot of us are really hoping to get some stuff in that kind of vibe as well. Now, this next bit that they talk about does also focus on clothing, but it focuses specifically on something we have just seen happen in 1.8. And that is that the 5-star banner outfits in their final evolution are slightly different. We're not just talking colors, we're not just talking a little bit of extra detailing or maybe something that's a little more sheer. We are talking like actually silhouette different. Now, it does still feel like the same piece, but it's like a shortened version in most of them. And here it's really interesting to see. It really changes up and makes that final evolution feel a little bit more worth it to pull for in some cases. And they have said that they do plan on making all 5-star sets have this. So I'm assuming they mean going forward, but as well as they mention going back to previous ones, and any of them that have already released will be implemented gradually. So these are going to be added as time goes on. My guess is, especially with how long it's taking us to get some of these older outfits being dyeable, we're probably not going to see all of this until maybe 2.0 before it's fully done, maybe even longer, because this seems like it's going to be a bit more intensive. Now, this is also going to include the miracle outfits. My biggest question here, though, is, are they going to allow us, at least for older, previously gotten pieces, are we going to have maybe both options, right? Because if I have a final evolution of a 5-star set and I love it as it is, and then they come out and they give us this alternate version with alternate details. Now, the makeup, I'm excited for the alternate makeup, don't get me wrong. But if they alternate the dress or the outfit in a way that maybe I'm not as big a fan of, and if that had been what it was on the banner before it released, I may not have pulled to get that final evolution. I may have stopped at, you know, the first one or the second or the third, and not intentionally gone for the 4th evolution. So I'm wondering if they're going to allow us to maybe have like a swap option. I don't know. I know some gacha games that have like major changes happen. You'll have like a change on versus change off option. So I'm wondering if they're going to have something like that, or if it's just going to appear as like a 5th version of the outfit, or 6th if you also have the glow up version in our closet. I'm curious what that's going to look like as we go into it. I do hope that they take into account that obviously when we pull for the final evolution of an outfit, that is a very costly thing most of the time. And I hope that they account for that when they do release the alternate versions and have a way for us to go back to the old one if we don't like the alternate version. Now, of course, if they're talking about giving us even more alternate options with our outfits, I know one of the biggest things that I struggle with is our wardrobe organization, right? I struggle to find stuff sometimes if I'm looking for a specific piece or I'm looking for a specific silhouette, and every single colorway of every single piece has its own slot, and it is a lot to scroll through. And they have heard our concerns about this. They have promised that they are going to be implementing a better organization option for our wardrobe in the future. And this does sound like it's going to include grouping color variants of the same outfits together. Now, what I want to know is, are they just going to make sure that all the color variants of an outfit are right next to each other, so you can kind of scroll down like line by line and, you know, go, oh, okay, there's that outfit and then all the colors for it? Or, which is what I hope is going to happen, are they going to create it so it's like, here is this outfit, this silhouette that we have, right? This dress from this outfit is here. And we see the original color option. And then when you click on it, we then have an option to choose which of the evolutions we would like to actually wear from there. Therefore, every piece that has different color variations will only hold one slot on each section. So it'll kind of be, you know, with the Crimson Rhapsody as one that I have all of the colorways of, right? I have all 5, the 4 evolutions, and then the glow up evolution. So if I go, okay, cool, I see the black version of the Crimson Rhapsody dress, and I click on that. And then there's a secondary option, either after clicking on that in the closet or on the screen, you know, on the side of the screen where you see Nikki, there's an option to choose which colorway it is. And I can choose which of the colors I want to wear of that dress. That's what I'm hoping they're going to do. I feel like that's going to make it feel much cleaner, because while grouping them together but each having their own icon will help, it is still going to be tedious to scroll through all of it. And with the rate that we are gaining clothes in Infinity Nikki, I really need to be able to scroll through and it not be so tedious. Please, I am begging you. It is so tedious to scroll through every color option of everything having its own icon. I'm gonna hope that they are going to have it be like one icon for each piece and then a secondary option choice for the color. And the final section of this round table article that they have given us changes the tone a little bit here, and it transitions into talking about the home feature that will include a cooking function. Now, I was curious if this is something they would add, considering it is a very classic cozy game kind of vibe. Cooking is in a lot of different cozy games, so it is going to include cooking. And it does sound like we're going to be able to experiment with recipes and exchange them for home-related currency. Now, we have heard that there is some kind of like ferry on our home island, so I'm wondering if there's going to be one dedicated to kind of exchange there, and then that'll give us currency to then go exchange for maybe furniture blueprints, or maybe there's going to be a shop that'll give us like materials for building. We'll have to see what exactly that home-related currency is going to be for. But we are going to be able to cook to exchange for that home-related currency. But that is not all the cooking is going to do for us. It sounds like at least some of these dishes, now I don't know if all of them are going to do it, but some of them we will be able to consume and get a variety of buffs. Now, I don't know what these are going to be. They don't really specify. They just say a variety of helpful benefits. Now, I'm thinking maybe we could get things that maybe make fish bite a bit faster or be easier to catch. Maybe we'll get things that, with there being gardening, it can maybe help us improve our gardening speed. Maybe if we like eat a piece of food and then go water our crops, they'll grow a little bit faster. Or I don't know, there's so many different things that this could include that I'm really curious to see what these buffs are going to be. I wonder if they'll give us one for a speed buff. A speed buff could be really cool. So we'll just have to see. Now, I do want to know what you guys think the buffs could be. I think it'll be really interesting to hear everybody's theories. And I do also want to mention, though, that we will be able to share these with our friends. So yeah, another piece of information that does seem to really prove that we are going to be able to have friends visit us on our home. You know, when Nikki's no longer homeless, we can invite friends over. We're gonna have a home and friends. We get our cake and to eat it too. Yay! But we are going to have a cooking function, which I think is really cool and does make it seem like we may get some more kind of classical, cozy game like interactions on this home island. And I think that's going to be Really, really nice to have, particularly during like filler patches that are maybe a little bit shorter and you just kind of want to vibe in the world of Infinity Nikki. We can maybe just maintain our home and do things there. So I'm really interested to see what that all is going to look like. All right, my dears, that is everything that they have told us on this round table for Miraland article. Now, I feel like there wasn't a lot of information. I am happy to see that some of the things that we have all been wanting are being confirmed. Of course, we've got our closet upgrades. We're gonna have our adjustments to outfits. I am curious to see what these 5-star final evolutions are going to look like. How different are we talking? Are we just talking about maybe shortening or lengthening something? Or are we maybe gonna add it entirely different silhouettes? I'm curious to see what all of that means. And of course, we know a vague idea of what to expect, at least for 1.9, and that there's going to be 1.10, 1.11, and then probably 2.0. So it does sound like we are going to be on kind of a year cycle. Since it's about a month per patch, that would make sense. You know, 1.0 is month 1, and then 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, all the way on to the 12th month of 1.11. And then starting probably December of this year, we are going to be looking at 2.0, maybe January, depending on exact timing of things. So it is going to be about a year cycle. Now, I did remember hearing something about them saying we're going to get a new region on average every 6 months. And this is a year in. Now, I'm curious to see if that 6 months is going to be going forward, or if by every 6 months minimum, they meant something like, you know, Serenity Isle, Firework Island, instead of like a whole new region. I'm not quite sure. It'll be interesting to see how things go forward. I do personally think that until 2.0, we're probably not going to see any like major differences in terms of things that we've been requesting, other than some of the features they said are coming. I think 2.0 is probably when we're going to actually start to see any major like story timeline differences and like a different timeline for when in-game things happen. Maybe that's when we'll start to see a little bit less filler patches, or we'll have it be where we'll have like a story quest, and instead of like front loading it all, it'll be actually spread out across, and then we'll also have whatever kind of the event for the patches on top of it, so it'll be a bit more spread out and a bit more even. Now, this is of course what I'm hoping will happen, and my estimation is 2.0 is when we will actually get to see any of that happen, if it is going to happen. So I'm gonna do my best to hold hope, and I'm gonna hope that 2.0 is when we're really gonna start to see a big change in kind of the timeline of things for Infinity Nikki in the way that I know myself and most of the community has been hoping for. That all being said, let me know in the comments what you are most excited for that has been hinted about either in this or you hope is going to come. And before we call it a day, if you enjoyed the video, it would mean the world to me if you took a few minutes to make sure you subscribe to the channel, maybe hit that notification bell if you don't want to miss a video, and maybe check out some of my other social platforms in the description box below. Other than that, my dears, I will see you wonderful beans next time, and please take care of yourselves.